was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamualaikum family. Once again, it's your brother Landon X, and my beautiful queen, Sister Shauna X. And we are back with part 5. Or should I do it like bruh man? Part 5 on the 5th floor. Part 5 of the Courtship Process. And this series is entitled Revolutionary Relationships. Revolutionary relationships. Let me start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Farrakhan Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact and down to the modern times. And lastly, I bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is indeed our divine leader, teacher, guide, and Messiah in our midst, if we understand. And in those 3 great names, I greet you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. And we are picking up where we left off on the last episode, part 4. We dealt with the courtship comments in the actual courtship manual, starting on page, I believe, 14. We ended on number 8, so we're going to pick up on number 9. But we also want to deeply and sincerely encourage all of our viewers, all of the NationTown Revolutionary Relationship family, to hit us up with your questions, your comments. Remember, this is a group discussion. This is 100% a group discussion. It's like a cyber cipher, online social media study group dealing with what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, coined as a matter of national security, which is the health of our relationships and marriages in the Nation of Islam. But we're talking to the entire Aboriginal family, all 4,400,000,000 or more of the Aboriginal family in the world, particularly in the hills of North America. So, as I've been saying on all of these previous episodes, if you've had any manner of, or should I say lack of success in the relationship world, even in the marriage world, in the so-called dating world, then the actual definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So if you've tried it the other way, come and try it the nation's way. Some of us in the nation have been trying it other ways. Let's try it the nation way, and this is what this is about. So if you're not a registered member of the Nation of Islam, don't touch that dial. Sit right where you are, because this is all about what we are. We are the standard bearers, are supposed to be the standard bearers of the hereafter and the correct way of doing things the 3 sciences that were taken away from the African god, the African king, the African queen, when we were turned into slaves. That 64-year process that I call the niggification process. The 3 sciences that were taken from us were the science of warfare, the science of business, and the science of mating. And the science of mating is synonymous with courtship and marriage, and also rearing children. And that's particularly what we're dealing with here, that first step, which is the courtship process. And as I said, we are going to start off where we left off on number 9. But again, hit us with those questions, hit us with those comments as we go. Any questions that you have that deal with courtship, that deal with marriage, even if we touched it before, this is part 5. If this is your first time checking out this series, I don't want you to think, well, you know, I might bring up something that's already been covered. We are more than happy to go back and revisit some of the fundamental aspects of courtship if we can and if we're able to. But I also want to deal with the title of this entire series, which is Revolutionary Relationships, and what that means. It means what it sounds like. When a black man understands how to love a black woman and a black woman understands how to love a black man, that is automatically a revolution. That is automatically dealing a nearly really completely fatal blow to our enemy and all those who form themselves as an enemy to us. And listen, you can't call yourself woke, you can't call yourself conscious, hell, you can't even call yourself intelligent if you don't see the value in the relationships between the black man and the black woman, in that order. Right. Black woman, black man, black man, black woman, all that funny stuff. Listen, that's not woke, it's not conscious, it's not intelligent, because every Aboriginal person on this earth was the product of a black male and woman relationship somewhere in that, in that ballpark. You know, it might have been a white woman involved, might have been a white man involved, but as long as there's some Aboriginal blood in there, it was between a male and a female. Believe that. That's where all, life form on this earth came from. So that's what we're dealing with, and that's why we call it revolutionary relationships. And again, I want to point out that myself and my queen, we are not putting ourselves on a pedestal or as the, I guess you could say, standard of relationships or the standard of marriages or courtship. Obviously we are married, so we did cover that part of the game. We covered the courtship process. We went about it, the letter of the law, as best we can. But once we finished it and we got married, we looked around not only the Nation of Islam, but also just the Aboriginal nation in general, and we realized that there's still a lot of confusion about this process and how to, at least strive to do it right. And so we made a decision a while ago that we wanted to contribute something to try to clear that up, and this is our contribution. So with that said, before we get deep into the courtship manual, as I promised, I'm gonna check with my wife to see if we have any questions or comments, and then we're gonna dive right into that courtship manual. Now, there may have been, let me touch on this real quick, because I just had to spank her a little bit. I know that there were a couple of viewers who requested the courtship manual, and I asked this woman, see, this is what you go through in marriage, y'all. You communicate, and then things just don't happen. I asked her to check on that and to see, who wanted the courtship manual. We have not forgotten about you. No. She forgot about you.
I did.
I didn't forget about you. We
so
are
sorry.
going to shoot you a copy of that as soon as possible. And anyone else who wants to get a copy of the courtship manual, it's not some top secret document. You ain't got to go through no initiation and get it. You ain't got to pay no money. Just hit us up with your email address, and we'll hit that to you as soon as she remembers. It's all her fault. But with that said, I'll let her apologize to you directly, and then greet us just as I greeted you with a salutation.
Assalamu alaikum. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us, the black men and women in America, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever. I further bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the exalted Christ and first begotten of the dead.
That's right.
And that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the Son of God and the Jesus in our midst today. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And yes, my husband put me on blast. It was me, you all. I completely forgot. I got so overwhelmed and busy this week. Please accept my humblest and most sincerest apologies. I will be sending that manual out to you all starting tonight. You may even get some while we're in the middle of the broadcast. And once again, I made the announcement last week, but I will continue to strive to just let you all know. You all may see me with my head down or messing around on my phone. That's because I am still in front of the camera, but still doing things from behind the scenes as well. So please don't think that I'm not giving you all my full attention. I'm just doing other things behind the scenes as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Again, we are so appreciative, and I pray that Allah blesses our spirit and our words and blesses your spirit to hear something that touches it and guides it in the right, the proper direction in the manner of courtship and marriage and engagement and all that beautiful nation building jazz.
All
So
praises
let's
to
go
Allah.
ahead and dive right in. I also want to just say assalamu alaikum to a few people. Brother Brandon X Clay, Soldier,
Assalamu alaikum.
Mosque 27. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for tuning in. My daddy's tuning in. Oh, assalamu alaikum, dad.
Assalamu alaikum, Pops.
Assalamu alaikum, Ella, Sister Rail, my sister Erica Lachey. Assalamu alaikum, beloved.
Alaikum.
And everyone, assalamu alaikum to the whole family for tuning in. We are so appreciative. Please like and share, and catch us on YouTube as well.
And definitely share, and definitely share. But not only share, hitting that share button, but also share any questions, any comments that you may have. But we're going to jump right into it. We're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to deal with number 9 of the courtship comments that are in the courtship manual. And we're going to hit the ground running. It asks the question there: is there such thing as chemistry? Is there such thing as chemistry? And then it answers its own question and says, yep. One of its meanings refers to A, the makeup of a person, group, situation, etc. Interaction. B, interaction between people, especially with respect to emotional or intellectual qualities. Rapport. C, mutual attraction. The key is agreement. The person strikes a certain note in us. There is agreement which can lead to oneness. He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said it does not start with romance, a Western creation. I'm going to stop right there. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that chemistry does not start with romance. This brother right here put it straight like that. It does not start with romance. So I'm a start with romance, since the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought it up, because I think this is a key issue, and it's one of those things that lets you know that you're dealing with a science and not an emotion. You're dealing with a science and not a game when you're dealing with actual courtship. A lot of us, male and female, we try to play the romance game when it comes to courtship. You know, especially when we call ourselves dating, quote unquote. And we get that from Hollywood. We get that from Hollywood because it tells you this story where two people, they bump into each other. You know, they do like, you know, what's that little cartoon with the dogs? They sucking on the same noodle and then they come together and they lock lips. You know, that's the kind of foolishness that we look for when we're in the courtship process. That's not what this is. It's a science. And I honestly think, you know, and the message to the black man, page 100, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Allah, not him, but Allah, is grieved to his heart that we keep falling for the same tricks or the same traps that our enemy has set up for us. And I think one of the main traps that our sisters, particularly our sisters, some brothers fall for this, but our sisters fall for in the courtship or so-called dating process is the so-called romance of it. The romance. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna snitch on us real quick, brothers. I'm gonna snitch on us. I'm gonna turn sister's witness, not state's witness, but sister's witness. And I'm gonna say something. Brothers, that's usually a cop-out for a lot of men in the so-called courtship process, especially in that grafted dating process. You know, brothers who really can't bring nothing to the table. They're really, you know, kind of shallow, not just shallow in their personality, but shallow in what they can really add to a sister's life. They bring a lot of romance. They bring a lot of saying the right words, and you know, they smile and and all that kind of stuff, because they really filling voids, very important voids that a real courtship process would expose. And what they're doing is that they're just coming with that romance. And I'm gonna tell you, sisters, that romance does not last at all. In fact, it's one of the first things to fade. And when a brother really seems like he's keen on that, one thing that always, even before I knew about the courtship process, one thing that I found funny, just growing up and becoming a young adult, you would always hear sisters say, on one hand, that men are always playing games. I want y'all to respond if y'all ever heard that before. Just say, yes, I feel you, I've heard that before. Sisters always, or sisters, if you feel that way. I hear a lot of sisters say, men are always playing games. Why y'all always playing games? Why y'all always playing games? But then on the flip side, I'll hear sometimes that same female say, you know what? That brother right there got game. Like, wait a minute. If you understand that brothers are coming with game and they always playing games in relationships, why would you be susceptible to game and even pat a brother on the back for having game? It is not a game. It is very serious. It is a science, and it's also one of the reasons that our communities and our families are in the condition that they in, because both sides are playing too many games. So the romance side, I know it looks good on TV, sisters. I know it looks good in your favorite books. I know it looks good on your favorite movies. But chill with that romance side. Chill with that. It's not that. And if a brother appears to be really good with that, I got bad news. He's not going to stop. And you might be thinking, oh, that's good, because that means in our marriage, he going to be like that every day. I didn't say he's not going to stop with you. He might stop with you, but he ain't going to stop throwing that game out there to the world, for the world to have fun with that game. So I'm just letting you know. So what you want to look for are real traits, real issues, real character traits in that brother, and for brothers in that sister, and don't get caught up with that romance, because that romance, they can run that play whenever they call it, to use sports terminology. They can run that play with anybody, and it's effective to a certain degree, but it's very ineffective when you're talking about actual relationships and courtship.
Yes, I completely agree. When it comes to romance, there definitely has to be a balance.
Right.
There's a struggle for balance, because us as women, that is something that we require. We're even taught in our teachings, it says that the most honorable, Master Fard Muhammad wooed Elijah Muhammad. He wooed him like a man would woo a woman to get him to love him and love the teachings. And that is something that we require. You think when the God created the earth and the heavens and the sun and the greenery and everything to sustain us, he did that after he created the woman. So he created something for himself to comfort himself, and he said, oh man, I have to provide for her. The thought of it is just so beautiful. Like, wow, he created a whole world for a woman, for us, the second self of God. So that is definitely something that a woman requires, because that's something that God did for us. So we look for the same thing in a man. We're looking for a man to reflect the same likeness of Allah, God, our creator. However, there must be balance, like my husband mentioned. You know, it can't be all, you know, smoke and mirrors and puff of romance and no legitimate foundation under that romance that holds up the relationship and keeps it sturdy and keeps it something that can last and endure throughout the test of time. So there definitely must be romance, but there must be a solid foundation. There must be balance in that as well.
All praises due to Allah. And let's continue with number 9. I stopped at the point where it talks about romance. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that romance is a Western creation. Straight like that. It's a Western creation. So I don't know. I might have to disagree with my wife and go with the messenger and say that it is a Western creation. And he asked, define romance. And we laughed. Chemistry is positive feelings about another based upon agreement. It's magnetism. Here we need more time to explain. There is much to this, a simple, exaggerated one. Do you love wisdom and the other, your roommate, is opposite? Physical appearance is part of chemistry and is very important. It's everything about you, your dress, your cleanliness or lack thereof, attractiveness, intelligence, good manners. Many considerations are contained. What attracts you to the other person depends on what you are and what's in you and how you see yourself, whether real or real, and your willingness to ever improve. Does the other person really love Minister Farrakhan's study guides? They are loaded with keys to self-improvement. And I like that last part where it says, does this person really love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's study guides? You know, and as we talked about in great detail on part 4, the previous part about the importance of being equally yoked and the advantages of both individuals being, you know, followers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and, you know, the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan being in the nation. The advantages of that is that you have a baseline to come back to. You have something to say, okay, what did the minister say? What did the messenger say? Not as a means to win an argument, but as a means for you all to come together. You got to be congruent. You got to be in agreement on something. And it's not a situation where it becomes a tug of war. If your relationship is a tug of war, where it's like, I'm going to bring them to my side of this coin, or she's going to bring him to her side, whatever, if that's what you're doing, then, you know, it's going to fail. But if it's a situation where y'all both are meeting and y'all both lining up with the light of the sun like the entire universe does, then you're in good shape, because y'all all are being controlled by the same atmosphere and by the same, like I said, energy of the sun. Who is the sun? It's the S-U-N and the S-O-N. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You know, and if you're not a Muslim, you're not a follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, still you need to find a baseline. You know, it could be the Bible, it could be whatever, you know, but it's got to be a baseline. If it's not a baseline, let me tell you, you're going to play the romance game. You know, y'all going to be kikiing and ha-haing. Y'all going to go to the movies. Y'all going to hold hands. Y'all might even mess around and have a baby. And might even mess around and get married. But then all of that's going to fade, and I'm telling you, you're going to need that baseline, or else it's going to turn into a tug of war, and then you're going to be in bad shape. But with that said, we're going to keep it going. Do we have any questions, comments, just before we keep it going?
We have Brother Daniel E. Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you
Salam,
again
sir.
for tuning in.
That's right.
Fan. He says the main compatibility is to love this mission.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, sir.
I agree 100%. And like I said, we're aiming this. This is coming from our science of courtship that we're taught in the Nation of Islam, but we're also aiming it at the entire Aboriginal family. Our sole purpose as members of the Nation of Islam is to deliver the 17 million or more dead to the Lamb of God. So we're also doing that. That's our sole purpose. So that's what this is a part. And I would say, if you're not in the nation and you're courting someone, then y'all gotta have a similar mission. Even if that mission is just the advancement of our people, even if that mission is just to put together a strong family, see, that could bring you to a baseline too. If you know for a fact, if you determine in the courtship that brother's mission is to put together a solid black family, and you know that that's sincerely your mission, then that's something y'all can always bring it back to. When you mess up, sister, and when he messes up, how is that congruent with the mission? And that will bring you back immediately, and it'll have something that you can bring the relationship back to. If it's just kind of bouncing around like emotions, then it's going to be just like emotions. It's going to be a roller coaster, and like I said on what's this show, South Park, you're going to have a bad time. So it's going to constantly it's going to be a war. It's going to be a lot of friction, confusion. You got to have something that you're coming back to and that you're both striving for. With that said, we're going to go ahead and move on to number 10. Now, number 10 is another important one. It says, friendship must first develop. Friendship must first develop. See Surah 5:54 through 55 and Surah 19, Ayat 96. Allah desires that the believers be friends of one another. Does not Minister Farrakhan teach this day and night? If you aren't friends first, you won't get married, or if you do it, will not last long. Now, friends. Well, that's all go friends. How many of us have them? Now, I think that word kind of gets dragged around. A lot of us don't know what that means either. A lot of us don't know what husband and wife mean. A lot of us don't know what courtship means. A lot of us don't really know what friends mean. And I looked into the etymology of the word friend. It has an Old English root, Old English etymology, and it actually means to love. To love. So when you're talking about a friend ain't no kick it partner. It ain't just somebody, it ain't no drinking partner, it ain't no kick it, it ain't just the homie. A friend is somebody that you would really, go all out for, somebody that you really know their mind, they know your mind. You say, well, how we gonna become friends in a 6 month, 3 month, 5 month courtship process? Well, if you focus on each other's mind, 3 to 6 months is plenty of time. Unless y'all spending 2 to 3 months on romance. Unless y'all just sitting around, eyes twinkling in the candlelight, staring at each other's eyes, with Jodeci playing in the background. I don't know, some of y'all kind of young. Jacquees playing in the background. Migos, I don't know. I feel sorry for y'all. Y'all don't really know what R&B is these days. But whatever you got playing in the back, see, that's not courtship. If y'all really digging into each other's mind, then you can become friends pretty quickly. And friends is something, speaking for the believers in the Nation of Islam, friends is something that can develop even without courtship. Now, we don't do flirting in the nation, and I would advise against anybody doing a lot of flirting, because that's the equivalent. That's just not genuine. It's just simple. It's biology, and like the message said, romance, but it's not really. There's no substance to it. But in the Nation of Islam, man, if you soldiering, you're soldiering, doing the first work in the field and at the mosque, you're gonna come across a certain sister a lot. You're gonna come across a certain brother a lot. And in a sisterhood, a sisterly friendship, brotherly friendship can produce, and I bear witness because I have, 3 biological sisters, and I've automatically, I now have about 300 biological sisters now, almost, when you consider the companionship and the camaraderie that I built with sisters of all different ages, you know, just by soldiering with the same mission. So that's already there without any, you know, funny business going on or none of that. Just, okay, that's my sister. I know things about her. She knows things about me. And you find out those kind of things soldiering, going to study group, whatever the case may be. So it doesn't have to just happen in the courtship, the friendship, as long as you really know what courtship is or friendship is, and you're not thinking, oh, friendship is just, a lot of us think, let me say this before I let my queen touch on this, a lot of us think friendship is, you know, we joked about go together, we joked about boyfriend, girlfriend. Some of us think friendship is sideline boyfriend or sideline girlfriend, or girlfriend bench, bench, like a bench in sports, and boyfriend bench, meaning, yeah, you know, they just my friend until I do like a head coach and call them off the bench and say, get in the game. You know, so-and-so is injured. I need you to get in the game now. That's what some of us think friend is. That's not what friend is. That's not what a male friend is or a female friend. Sorry about that. It's somebody that you actually love, but in a brotherly and sisterly fashion. You want to touch on it?
Yes, sir. You know, I think when it comes to the term friendship, we have the same issue in which the minister spoke on in regards to romance, how that's a Westernly term. We've kind of taken on a Westernly, not that friendship is a Westernly term, but we've taken on a Western world mindset in regards to friend, like my husband was speaking of. You know, sometimes we look at friends as somebody I can kick it with. I can go to the club with. We can talk jazz about other folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, but a friendship, you know, we're taught, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, if you have an idea, find 6 like-minded people, put your money together and get it off the ground. You know, a friendship is just that. You know, this is somebody that you have a like mindset. You can work with. You know, work with. You know, not go kick it with, but work with. And when it comes to work, you know, there's a level of compatibility that must be there, and not just in a male-female friendship, in any type of relationship that has to have some type of compatibility. So we need to re-educate our minds to what true friendship, true companionship is, in order to actually have that friendship before we go into a marriage, or, you know, a marriage or an engagement, to know what that is. You don't want this to be based, this so-called friendship, to be strictly based off of, oh, we go out often, you know, we always have chaperones too, but we go out all the time and we have a good time and we go to the show. That's cool. That's nice that you all can, you know, be out and about and still be in each other's presence and enjoy yourselves, but that's not going to be solid enough, because if you look at what it takes to keep a marriage, to sustain a marriage, for what our goal is a lifetime, and to build a legacy, you know, that's going to take work. Majority of that time is going to be work. So we want to, we're striving, we're getting not even re-educated, because we have never had this knowledge of mating. So we're educating ourselves. We need to re-educate ourselves on what a true friendship is, so that we can really evaluate that when we're looking into, do I have a friendship with this individual?
Absolutely, I agree, and let's also get rid of the mentality that a friend is somebody that you agree on everything with.
That part.
See, an associate, you can do anything with an associate, but that's the thing, you have to be doing something with an associate. You know, for those of you still in the world getting high, associate will get high with you all the time, especially if you're sharing your weed, or you sharing your drink, or if you're sharing food. You know, don't think that somebody is a friend because they'll go out to eat with you. Everybody like to eat. Don't think they're a friend if they like to go to a concert with you, or a movie with you. Everybody like to do those things. And it really doesn't matter that you're there. So it's not a challenge there. A lot of times with friends, real friends, you can call on them and there's no third party. There's no third party, you know, activity that's attracting them. It's just, man, you need them. You need to talk to them. You need their help with something. And then when they're the type that'll jump to that and help you, and it's not some kind of buffer in between you, it's like, I don't know if y'all ever watched Seinfeld, but it was a funny episode where Seinfeld's friends, you know, found themselves kicking it with each other, but Seinfeld himself wasn't there. He's normally the buffer.
Yeah.
So it was real awkward because they really weren't friends of each other. They were just all friends with him. We call it mutual friends. And a lot of times we have mutual activities that we like to do. And everybody that you soldier with in the mosque or whatever your lifestyle is are not necessarily your friends. Maybe you just, okay, I'm cool with soldiering with them, and that's all right. You know, we ain't gotta, you know, be drop dead in love with each other. We gotta respect each other, and we gotta have a brotherhood and a sisterhood. But friends is something that really exists. It's not a plaything. So we gotta make sure that we're touching on that. Do we have any questions before I move on to the next topic?
Oh, we have Brother Malachi Muhammad. He's saying the broadcast is breaking up and slowing down. I apologize, sir. You know, the devil is always on his job.
That's right.
Please, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Please let us know if we have any further audio or visual issues.
Okay.
Walaikum salam, Sister Max Wright and Sister Khadijah. She says, yes, teach. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
All praises due
And
to
keep
Allah.
going with the questions and comments. You all make the show.
That's
you
right.
all really make the show.
That's right. Now, in that number 10, it mentioned two ayats from the Holy Quran, and I want to bring those up. It was Surah 5, ayat 54 through 55. I'm going to go over that, and then it was Surah 19, ayat 96. Now, Surah 5 and 55, let's start with that one first. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is from the Holy Quran, the book of the Muslims. O you who believe, should any one of you turn back from his religion, then Allah will bring a people whom he loves and who love him, humble towards the believers, mighty against the disbelievers, striving hard in Allah's way and not fearing the censure of any censorer. This is Allah's grace. He gives it to whom he pleases, and Allah is ample, giving, knowing. Only Allah is your friend. Only Allah is your friend. All praises due to Allah. Only Allah is your friend. But I'm gonna put that back up there for y'all to actually to digest. Only Allah is your friend. 555. Think about that. Only Allah. Now, to those of us that are Muslims and we are studious and, you know, study our Holy Quran, it's important to understand, as we talked about, the depth and the meaning of that word friend. No, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't just instantly get divorced. She had to step out real quick. But for those of you who are Muslims, you've heard that before. Allah is our only friend. So think about that before you throw that word around. When you throw that word around, friend, you have to understand that in the Holy Quran, it tells us that Allah is our only friend. But in Surah 19, ayat 96, it says, those who believe and do good deeds, for them, the beneficent will surely bring about love. Wow, let's read that one again. Those who believe and do good deeds, for them, the beneficent will surely bring about love. And that kind of touches on, you know, that topic that we were dealing with so heavily last week of the importance of both parties being equally yoked. But that's what the courtship manual was talking about with those two ayats. So we're going to keep it going. Again, we want to encourage all of you, if you have any questions or comments, definitely hit us up. We might keep this one under an hour depending on the participation of the viewers with questions or comments. But we've been going kind of long on the previous ones. So we're going to see if we can cut it short on this one. But like I said, it's up to y'all. Any questions or concerns that y'all have, we definitely going to try to deal with them. But as we mentioned before, we are dealing with the actual courtship manual. And now we're going to move to a different section of the manual that deals with the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships, so we know what they look like. Healthy and unhealthy relationships. As you can see, we just brought that up on the screen. This is something that I really think we gotta deal with, because a lot of us grow up in family situations that are not ideal. It ain't a lot of, it's not that many, Cosby Show type situations, in reality. Hell, we now found out that Cosby's actual situation was not a Cosby Show situation. But we found that out not just from the charges that they dropped on him recently, but just from other things in the past. So in real life, we have some pretty skewed experiences as far as relationships. So a lot of us don't even know what relationships are. So that's why we're dealing with that particular issue of healthy versus unhealthy relationships. I'm gonna bring that back on the screen so we can dive into it. What does a healthy relationship look like? Healthy relationships are marked by mutual respect, trust, negotiation, fairness, compromising, and working through conflicts, open and honest communications, both partners listening and affirming the other's opinions, views, so the relationship is a safe place. There's honesty, accepting responsibility for one's wrongdoing, holding oneself accountable, deciding on and making family decisions together, including economic decisions, responsible, shared parenting, mutual support of each other's goals in life, respecting your individuality, family, friends, and outside interests. Man, that's heavy. That's heavy. And I agree with everything in there. And what it really sounds like is teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's a situation where, like it says, healthy relationships are marked by mutual respect, trust, negotiation, fairness. I think there's a little too much reliance in our current idea of what relationships are and some kind of osmosis style understanding of each other. And sisters, y'all notorious for this. Let's just keep it real. Y'all notorious for this. If you knew how I was feeling, I wouldn't have to say how I'm feeling. No. Let's turn off the TV and let's come back down to reality. And brothers, the same way. Sometimes we just come through the door grunting, and somehow the sister's supposed to know what that means. Just a look on our face. We grown people. This is for grown folks. Now, if you're not a Muslim, you can still watch. If you're not in the Nation of Islam, you can still watch. You can learn a lot from this, but there shouldn't be any children watching this. We grown folks. It ain't no do you like me, yes or no type relationships that we talking about here. We talking about grown folks relationships. So we have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to negotiate. We have to listen. Woo. Think about this. Black people, Aboriginal people. How many people really in this world listen to the black man and listen to the black woman? Do our politicians listen to us? Do these Fortune 500 companies that are constantly trying to sell us stuff, they listen to us when they're trying to figure out what to sell us, or do they really listen to our needs? Nobody listens to the Aboriginal man or the Aboriginal woman. But that cannot be the same thing. That cannot continue at home. A black man can't go out into a world that don't give a damn about him or his opinion, and then come home to a woman that don't give a damn about him or his opinion. A black woman can't go out into a world that don't give a damn about what she going through, and then come home to a man that don't give a damn about what she going through. That has to stop in the Aboriginal household. Also, we're going to deal with what makes an unhealthy relationship. Now, this we might know a thing or two about a thing or two. And I'm going to remove this graphic so y'all can see it as clearly as I do. What makes an unhealthy relationship, or what does an unhealthy relationship look like? An unhealthy relationship is marked by poor communications, poor conflict anger management, excessive arguing, distrust, lack of respect, use of emotional, economic, or physical abuse, rigid understanding of gender roles, my way or the highway attitude, poor parenting, is overly critical, judgmental, pressures you into doing something against your will, and not taking responsibility for one's behavior, either by denial and shifting blame, prevents or discourages you from having outside interests, friends, or uses isolation. Listen, family, isolation works just fine in the game of basketball. For my sports fans watching, ISO is cool. You know, it worked for Karl Malone on the court, but it does not work in the household, the isolation. And that's also a sign of in my humble opinion, low self-esteem and also insecurity. You know, I'm going to hide you in my house. You know, sisters do it, brothers do it. I'm going to hide you. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, if your husband says, baby, I want to go to the strip club and I just want to, you know, kick it at the strip club, and you don't want him to, and you voice that to him, that you trying to isolate him. So brothers don't be like, oh man, brother on Facebook said that's isolation. You trying to keep me? No, everything that's out there in the world ain't for us to be doing. Especially in this hour when little white boys walking up in Walmart with assault rifles. So you want to limit being out there in their world, because it is still very much their world. You know, even when it ain't nothing but us. It's a lot of us walking around with their mind. But, you know, isolation is when you don't even let them breathe. You don't even let them go nowhere. They don't get to see nothing. They don't get to do nothing. You know what I mean? Now, you know, if they want to go to Paris and you don't have Paris money, then hey, that ain't isolation. That's just a financial situation. So, you know, but that's important for us to know what unhealthy relationships look like. And again,
it's interesting when you read both of the healthy and the unhealthy. When you go to that healthy, it doesn't say, oh, you're never gonna argue, you never have a disagreement, there's never a fight, you live happily ever after and harmoniously all the time, forever and ever and ever. No.
Right.
The only difference is in the way. It already implies that you're going to have conflict. It already implies that you're going to have differences and difficulties and struggles. But the difference is in the means in which you tackle those and overcome those. So don't get the mindset that this world gives you when you're watching these little fairy tale movies. It's just so perfect and easy breezy and it's just gonna happen spontaneously, love, bam. No, it's going to be trials. But how do you overcome those trials? And you know, you may get wrong the first time out the gate. That's all right. I did too. I still remember our first argument. I was like, oh. But
no, she wasn't.
I was too.
She punched a hole in the wall. No, just
Yeah, you know, I'm strong. Yeah, but you're gonna, you know, but learn from that. And then goal yourself the next time around, because it will happen again, just to do better and to learn and say, okay, I'm ready next time. I'm gonna do better. I'm not gonna make that same mistake. I'm not gonna yell. I'm not gonna just, you know, go off in the corner and just ignore them, you know. And that's it. It's the way that we tackle these difficulties. It's the way that we overcome them. And keep in mind, like the minister says, not just with difficulty comes, after difficulty comes ease. The minister also says with difficulty comes ease. So know that in your mind there's going to be ease after this situation, but you have the control as to how soon that ease can come.
All praises due to Allah. And you know, brother, I believe it was brother Brandon next mentioned You know, we must take on our duty as our first love. Well, Sister Dr. Ava pointed out that there is a hierarchy of duty, and first of all, love is duty, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan explained, but there's a hierarchy of our priorities, you know, for those of us that are registered members in the Nation of Islam. It's first Almighty God himself, and our duty to him is a very personal duty, you know, to allow him. He made us in his image and in his likeness, and we need to do everything we can to close that gap. And then second to that is family, not nation, family. However, when you master those first two, the nation part automatically crystallizes. The nation part automatically comes together if you do those first two right. God, family, and then the nation automatically, you know, comes into play. And it also is more of a seamless, it makes that sole purpose more seamless. I think a lot of us that we may struggle with is that, you know, we're fighting for a sole purpose, but then that sole purpose can't be found at home. We come home and, you know, and the dead is not delivered. We come home and we go back to death, like Dracula, you know. At the end of the day, after he just sucked everybody's blood, he come home and he do what? He lay down in the casket, you know. When the sun come up and then the sun go back down, he hop out the casket like Soldier Boy, you know, hop up out the bag, get his Dracula on, and he back to sucking blood. We can't live like that. We gotta come home. Our sole purpose is to deliver the 17 million or more dead. When that was given to us, that was given to us at a time where there was roughly 17 million black people in North America. So that means 17 million or more means all of us. So if your sole purpose is to deliver all of our people, that starts with you. That starts with yourself, because you're one of those 17 million or more. It don't mean 17 million or more outside the mosque. It don't mean 17 million or more outside the FOI, 17 million or more outside the MGT. It starts with us. So we got to make sure that that's taken care of at home, and we living up to our duty at home. And then when we doing that right, that makes all that other stuff easier. It makes the nation building aspect easier. That's why the minister says that our marriages and the condition of our marriages and the actual divorce rate is an actual threat to our national security. National security. Now, if we don't have any direct questions or comments, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna keep it moving. We just dealt with the problems, well, the examples of a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship. Now we're gonna go into something, a question that might have been on some of you all's minds. Maybe you too bashful or whatever to actually ask it, but we're gonna go into this. When should you not enter into courtship or marriage? I'm gonna repeat that. When should you not enter into courtship or marriage? There are always signs that you or the person you are contemplating going into courtship are not ready for a mutually healthy relationship. Be sure of your motivations, as well as your prospective courtmates, if at all possible, prior to going into courtship, in order to ensure that you make the best decision as possible for your life. Now, I gotta touch on that one. And again, not state's witness. I ain't no snitch, but I am gonna be a snitch for my sisters. I'm gonna turn sisters witness. Let me say, and this goes for the brothers too. I'm gonna flip this for the brothers as well, especially for those of us in the Nation of Islam, because we have a military structure, we have a lifestyle. It's more than a belief system. It's definitely more than a religion, but it's a lifestyle and it's a military. That's why you can parrot our teachings. You could, you could wear our teachings like a hat or like a t-shirt, but if you ain't grinding in that military, then you're not in the process, But for the sisters that are in the Nation of Islam, be very careful. If you first come into the nation You ain't, I mean, man, you ain't even ironed your garment for the first time. You may not even have a garment yet. And then it's a brother who been in the nation for a while or just longer than you, and he already in your ear with his Islam. Be very careful of that. Be very careful, because if he's really genuine, then he should want to sit back and give you the opportunity to cook, so to speak. You know, just like you would with something you got in the oven. He should want you to really understand this teaching, understand point number 12, understand who God is, understand the reality of God, the reality of self, the reality of the devil. He should want that for you. And even the flip side, if the sister, if you're an experienced sister, you're a veteran, you've been around for a while, and then a brother just came into the ranks, bow tie still crooked, you know what I mean, still got the tag hanging off his suit, you know, and he already in your ear, and he fresh out the world, he still smell like the world, still look like the world. You know, look at that and ask yourself, what is his motivation? Where is he coming from? And brothers, same thing. Brothers, same thing. You know, brothers come into the ranks, brand new, you know, zealous, in love with what they understand of the teachers, and they already got sisters in their face. You know, already, you know, being requested for courtship. Ask yourself, you know, do they really want an FOI when you barely won? You know, and you haven't even gotten the opportunity to really show what level of an FOI you are. Not saying that if you've been in the ranks 5, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that automatically makes you a top flight FOI MGT. No. But it's a fact that you're not if you just came through the door. So be careful of that. And it points out in that, you know, be sure of your motivations as well as your prospective court mates, if at all possible, prior to going into courtship, in order to ensure that you make the best decision as possible for your life. Now we're going to get into the meat of it. Because now we're going to deal with some actual facts, some things to really look for. Please review the following situations illustrating reasons why one shouldn't enter into courtship. Let me go ahead and get this image off the screen so y'all can see this as well as I can. These are reasons why you shouldn't enter into courtship. Please pay attention. The first one is because you are in an unhappy home and wish to escape. You do have alternatives and choices to get away from an unhappy home other than marriage. This could be going away to school, getting your own place. I'm going to read that again, getting your own place. I'm going to read that again, getting your own place. Or even encouraging your family to get family counseling to improve family life. However, if you view marriage as a way out of an unhappy home, you will only recreate another unhappy home because the motive is incorrect. The next one is, you're too immature or young. Enjoy your youth and wait until you are more mature and older. And I think that's a heavy one. And I want you to focus on the word mature. They say age ain't nothing but a number. And you know what? We don't really subscribe to the white man's definition of adult. You know, 18 and you automatically an adult. You know, I know very mature 18-year-olds. I know very immature 50-year-olds. Real talk. You know, no cut soda, no cap. That's real. I know very immature 50-year-olds, very mature 15-year-olds. But how mature are you? Do you really know what marriage is? Or are you saying, I really want a wedding? And for the brothers, you saying, you know, I really want a sister that I can legally lay up with every night. And you're not even going to do that after a while. You got to ask yourself these questions. Be mature about it, because this is not a game. It's something that if you go in wrong, you're going to be scratching and clawing to get out, and it's not going to be a good look. Now, we're going to keep it going, because there's more than that. Them ain't the only ones. Trust and believe. Trust and believe. You've just graduated. I think we just, no. That's right. At the very top, You've just graduated from high school or college and have never been on your own as an independent single person, have no stable job, have no stable career or job, no direction in your life, scrolling down, or any means of support, and or you are afraid to be alone. Complete your education if you have completed high school, or get some training in the field of your interests. Demonstrate that you can live on your own, as well as learn how to pay bills, balance checkbooks, budget, save money, and become self-sufficient and independent. Know and enjoy your own company, being alone without being lonely. Man, that's heavy.
So heavy.
Being alone doesn't necessarily mean lonely. Now, I will say this, you know, I strongly recommend marriage to the believers, because this can cause loneliness. You're going out there, you're trying to deliver the dead. You know, it's tough work. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it's more difficult than the creation of the sun, moon, and stars. And you can't keep, you know, it's not good to keep coming home to a cold bed and to a cold house that's not a home. But at the same time, get to know yourself. And when we say know yourself, a lot of times we just think, oh, all the things that I like, all the things that I prefer. Nah, getting to know yourself also means all your ignorant parts, all your very, you know, off-putting parts,
Right.
all the things about you that make somebody not even think about wanting to court or marry you. You know, get to those things. If you're not sure what they are because you think you're perfect, look for recurring themes in your previous relationships. And that's not just, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, or past courtships, or even past marriages. That's also your friendships. What your mama, your sisters say about you. If it's one thing, two things, or 20 things that everybody that know you would co-sign and say, you know what, Brother Landon always X, Y, and Z. Sister Shauna, you know, she always X, Y, and Z. And you heard it, you hear it in every relationship, friends, mama, even your cat, your dog tell you this. Then it's something that you really need to work on. And while you're not in a courtship and not in a marriage, that's a good time to work on those things. Do we have any further comments or questions before we move on?
Yes, we have Brother Jermaine, Brother Jermaine. He says, greatness on demand. The black man is God.
That's
the
right.
black woman is the mother of God.
That's right.
Which makes her heaven on earth, and the gods and earth. We have my sister Octavia, Waxahachie Study Group in the house. Assalamu alaikum, beloved. I love you. I miss you all. Please give everybody the greetings for me. Gotta shout out to my beginnings. Waxahachie Study Group, y'all. Y'all don't even know.
But see, Octavia, see how ungrateful she is. She didn't even point out to everybody watching that it was Sister Octavia. And we haven't touched on this yet on this series about the importance and the details of having what we call it, a chaperone. But Sister Octavia and her husband, Brother Ben, y'all know him as Brother Ben X, they were our chaperones on our first outing as court mates in Dallas, in the Dallas area.
And Taji.
And Taji, their oldest, their son. It was before the little girl even existed.
I know, right?
You know, and shout out to Taji. He was so well behaved.
Yes.
You know, he was entertaining. He was in a great mood. But we're gonna touch on the chaperone science, because that's a science to that too. But see how ungrateful she already forgot that y'all did, because I know y'all had plenty to do that day. Y'all had plenty to do that day. Y'all beautiful young family, but y'all took y'all time out to deal with our ignorant behinds and run around with us forever. So, but that's an important, and we're gonna touch on the chaperone thing, but I think we have another comment or question.
Yes, thank you, sis. Love you guys. But in regards to being alone with yourself without feeling lonely, This statement is not just for those who aren't in the nation, but just period. We need to be able to be with ourselves alone without any intoxicants.
That's right.
Okay? If you can sit up with a drink and a smoke and be cooling it all by yourself and think that, no, I'm saying when you can be with yourself alone and you have a comprehensive knowledge, like my husband said, of not just your likes but your dislikes, that you can analyze and you can take in yourself on your own without anything to take you away. I mean, sitting down reading, sitting down studying, sitting down watching something, educational, where you can be with yourself by yourself in your mind, in your own mind, without something taking you away. That's what that means. Sitting with yourself and God, sitting with yourself in your own thoughts, sitting with yourself and meditating, sitting in deep prayer. Some of us can't deal with ourselves, some of us can't deal with the thoughts in our mind.
That's real.
So that's that part as well. Sitting with yourself without anything taking you away from your true self.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And she said your likes and dislikes, but also the things that everybody else dislikes about you.
Right.
That's the point I was making. Figure out, look for the. I'm not saying to worry about what people say about you, but I'm gonna tell you, if 10 people all say the exact same thing, especially when them 10 people don't even know each other, but they say the same thing, that might be something that you might want to work on while you're single and you're not in a courtship. And even once you get into a courtship, and even, because don't think, let's not be spooky, let's not be Hollywood and think that even if you get to the point of marriage, that means y'all done both interrogated each other and found out that both of y'all are perfect. If you think the other person is perfect, then you probably need to hold off on the marriage, because somebody's doing something wrong. It's not that, it's just that you've looked at the whole picture and you determined that it's something that you want to do. Now, another thing I want to keep it going with these reasons to not get into courtship. Now, this next one is a whopper. To make someone else jealous. Read self-improvement books and see a counselor to become more emotionally mature. Don't marry anyone until you have matured and have also acquired a variety of adult behaviors and coping skills to rely on when you're hurting. Take assertiveness and communication skills classes to help you talk through problems amicably rather than resorting to manipulation. Man, that's a stone cold one right there, because one of the issues with us being a nation within a nation and having a mosque family, study group family, is that it's a tight-knit family. So in a situation where a brother or a sister courts someone and it doesn't work out, or even if there's a marriage and the marriage doesn't work out, don't get into this mentality that, oh, let me go ahead and make sure I get into a courtship before my ex does. Or, oh, I see my ex, wife is in a courtship, or ex-courtmate is then rebounded into another courtship. First of all, stop even looking at courtship like it's boyfriend, girlfriend. It's not. All they did is say, you know what, that courtship didn't work out. As far as marriage is concerned, let me continue to investigate, because that's what it is. It's a court proceeding. It's an investigation. So you say, okay, my ex-courtmate is courting. Let me run, and find me somebody. And you run up in the mosque the next Sunday. All right, you come here. And that's, no, we ain't doing it like that. So that's a heavy one. To make someone else jealous. And also, I'm gonna make sure this one is up on the screen, because this is another heavy one. Very heavy. To supply self-esteem. Again, seek counseling. And by counseling, we ain't talking about just going to some white person's, psychotherapy and laying down on the couch. This means talking to your student minister, talking to an elder in the mosque, talking to just an elder in your family, someone who has proven that they know more about this process than you do. And it also says being in a relationship with someone in order to feel comfortable and confident is a recipe for disaster. You and you alone. You and who?
You alone.
You and you alone are responsible for your own happiness, and to expect someone to come into your life and make you happy will only place an extra burden on them because you are in the relationship out of neediness. And I'm going to jump to the next one, because everyone else is doing it. This is not a good reason to court someone. Your decision should be based upon your own state of mind and readiness to handle the responsibilities of marriage. And I'm going to tell you, that's a heavy one too, because everyone else is doing it. You know, one thing that always happens when there's a wedding or when a courtship is announced, and we mentioned on a previous episode, courtships really shouldn't be announced to everybody and their mama, because all it is a court proceeding. We shouldn't be congratulating each other. But when there is a marriage and we see all the festivities, all the pageantry, you know, that tends to, even for the brothers, it's kind of like, you know what, this marriage thing ain't such a bad thing. But you still want to go through the science, brother. You still want to go through the science, because one of my biggest fears to this day is divorce. Because I understand what the minister said. Even before I heard him say it, I understand that divorce is a threat to our national security, not just as a nation of Islam, but just the Aboriginal family and our people in general. If our households are not intact, I don't care what you know. I don't care what you know about, you know, us being the real Hebrews, or the black man is God, or what you think you know about Master Fard Muhammad, or the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or the Quran, or Message to the Black Man, whatever you think you know. If you're coming home to chaos, that wipes all of that off the board. That wipes it clean off the board, and you are defenseless, and the enemy will win. If you're coming home to chaos. That's what you find in broken homes, broken minds, broken spirits. It don't matter what. See, you like those donkeys that the Quran talks about with books tied to them. You know, if you don't have the stability of a family, or not even striving to get that stability. And then lastly, it says another reason that you don't want to do it is when you're pregnant or the sister you were with is expecting. Decide on what is in the best interest of the child and honor that responsibility. Coming together in marriage because of a child will not guarantee the success of a marriage, especially where there is no love or commitment in a relationship. We touched on this before, and I'm going to touch on it again as we close out. Children are a lot smarter than we think they are. And there are a lot of sisters who already have children, a lot of brothers who already have children, who are looking into the courtship process. Understand that they're a lot smarter, especially if you raising them in the nation. They're going to MUI and you teaching them the way they should be taught. They are a lot more intelligent and a lot more receptive. When I say intelligent, I think too often we think of, oh, they know their ABCs, they can spell their name, they can write in cursive, they know English lesson number C1 by heart. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying they're very receptive. And trust me, a child, understand that in the timeline, the grand divine timeline of things, that child is closer to God than you are. If you're 30, you're 30 years removed from the bosom of Allah, from the creation of his mind, the womb of his mind. You're 30 years removed. I'm not saying you can't get back or you can't close that gap and get closer, but you're 30 years removed. That child, if they're 5 years old, they're only 5 years removed from the womb of God's mind. So they're very in tune to emotions. They're very in tune to spirits. They know when mama is mad as hell at daddy, and daddy is mad as hell at mama, and daddy can't stand mama, and mama can't stand daddy. It don't matter what you show them or not. You might not argue in front of the children. That's good. But they still know when they sit in the back seat, they looking at both of y'all. They looking at both of back of both of y'all head like, yeah, something going on. Because when y'all hop out the car, y'all assalamu alaikum and everybody else. And it's all love to everybody else. But when y'all get in the car and it's just y'all two, that love comes to an end. They see that and they read that So getting pregnant just for the children it's a waste of time, and you really are disrespecting the intelligence of these children, because I'm telling you, these are baby gods, and they can actually read emotions and stuff better than we can, because they're not as, worn out by this world and all of the distractions of this world. Sister, did you want to speak on this before we close out?
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke on the reason why fornication or adultery is like an unpardonable sin to Allah, because it separates the husband and the wife, and anything that separates the husband and the wife scatters the children as well, and that degrades the building of the nation. And if you're doing this, if you're doing something that has that same effect, whether it's adultery or whether it's just staying with your spouse for the sake of looks or because you have children, it's still scattering the children. They're siding with mom, siding with dad. They're not being able to see a functional marriage or a functional wife and a husband, or functional mother and a father. It doesn't have to be in the wife and the husband form. If you two cannot be together, you're scattering the children. So you're having that same effect. A child needs to see their mother being loved properly, whether it's from the father or another husband, which would be their stepdad, and I really don't believe in step nothing. A child needs to see their father loving and being loved properly. And if you cannot do that with the father of the children, then at least give them, and give yourself, hello, you deserve love too. Give yourself the opportunity not to sit there in something that's just rotting and decaying, because if you have a bowl of fruit and that apple or that orange is rotted, it's old, it's moldy, everything else in that bowl of fruit, everything else in that bowl is going to eventually rot, mold, and decay too, which is what's going to happen in that marriage. So you may think that you're containing it just to yourself, husband and wife, but no, like my husband mentioned, those children are intuitive. They are smart. They can sense your spirit. They can feel it, So that's going to pass on to them, and then they're going to grow up seeing and not knowing what a healthy relationship looks like. If you can't at least show them a healthy relationship, don't show them an unhealthy relationship.
That's right. And just to give you a quick preview of what we're going to touch on part 6, we're going to deal with the myth that started with a movie, Malcolm X. Is there any truth to a man marrying a woman half his age plus 7? We're going to bust that up directly from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Also, properly starting a courtship. Also, we touched on this a little bit in previous episodes, but we're going to go into more detail about, can a sister ask for a brother in courtship? Is permission and or approval needed to court someone? And how long should a brother be in the mosque before asking a sister, and vice versa? And should the courtship be announced to the believers? Does courtship include premarital sex? Now, if you watched any of the previous episodes, you've heard us touch on many of those topics. A couple of them we haven't touched on, but we haven't touched on any of them with the depth that we're going to touch on in some of the coming episodes, particularly part 6. We want to thank all of you for tuning in and enjoying this episode. Do we have a comment, a question before we close out?
A Gloria Jernigan. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, Gloria. Thank you for tuning in. She says, we would benefit from self-healing before marriage. Teach on loving properly.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But we would definitely benefit from self-healing. But at the same time, I don't want us to because I think we abuse that sometimes, because we misunderstand what self-healing means. Because we start looking for perfection in ourselves. You know, brothers had this problem. A lot of sisters, you know, in the ranks are wondering what's taking these brothers so long. That's because these brothers are making the mistake of, okay, I gotta be Farrakhan. You know, some of them even have, you know, silly goals. I want to be Jay-Z first. Let me get my, you know, my record company cracking, and then you know, it don't get to the point where you feel like you have to be flawless in order to go into the courtship. No, but you just don't want to be in a situation where you think that relationship or that marriage is going to complete you in a sense where it's going to automatically cover all your faults. Just get yourself to the point where you're ready for courtship. And courtship is not something that's for perfect people. It's not for perfect people. So don't fall asleep on your self-repair. Get the job done, you know, do that tune up, do that oil change real quick, and then get your behind into a courtship process. Don't rush into marriage and don't rush through courtship, but understand what courtship is and what it's not. Also, make sure you download the mighty Mosque No. 27 app. Get that in your life. Listen, if you black, you alive, you woke, you conscious, and you have an IQ over 15, and you have not downloaded the free
Say it again.
free Mosque 27 app, something wrong with you, man. Something is really, really wrong with you. And then after that, you got to keep it going. You got to support your brother and your sister. NationTownStore.com. NationTown. Listen, Los Angeles is NationTown. Mosque No. 27 is NationTown. Free delivery to your doorstep. We're delivering pies, cookies, products nationwide, even worldwide. The kingdom of heaven is as a man delivering his goods. That's how we get down out this way. Also, even though we recorded it about 9 years ago, I'm proud to say that we are featured on, I won't say featured, but we are a part of the newest episode of Love in Black, episode 2. Also, if you don't have NFAstudios.com,
Where do they do that at?
that is the nation's Netflix. Listen, we ain't tripping on the minister being banned from Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Man, listen, we got our own Netflix. We got our own platform, NFAstudios.com. It's a beautiful, beautiful series called Love in Black. It's similar to this, but it's not so much a study group. It's more like a documentary dealing with just black relationships, hosted by our beloved brother student minister Nuri Muhammad out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Many of you have heard from him. And it just deals with some of the perceptions and misperceptions of relationships. And this episode 2, man, it gets heavy. It gets really very emotionally heavy. And I strongly recommend it. It's a perfect, what we're doing is a perfect supplement to that, Love in Black. So definitely make sure you touch on that. Shout out to brother Marcus and his wonderful wife, you know, and everybody else that's involved with this project.
Cheryl, brother B-Pop Mike.
Oh man, how can I forget my big brother, brother Michael K. Muhammad, also known as B-Pop Mike. He dropped some real science for the brothers.
Oh, and Sister Aisha, she's still 27.
Oh yeah, Sister Aisha.
My Sister Valerie's daughter.
That's right,
so
that's right. Sister Valerie's twin daughter. But yeah, y'all definitely check that out as soon as y'all get the chance. And with that said, I'm going to leave you all as we greeted you all in the words of peace. We sincerely appreciate you all tuning in. This is part 5. So the previous 4 parts can be found on YouTube as well as on our NationTownTV page on Facebook. Go back and watch them right now. On the app, so y'all can binge watch your brother. You can watch this big head all day now. It's about a million hours of this big head now. But you know, go back and watch the previous episodes. And also, again, last but not least, if you want a copy of the courtship manual, send us a direct message on our NationTownTV page, or go to YouTube into the comment section. And then give us, well, you don't want to put it out in public comment section, but send us a direct message on NationTown TV on Facebook.
Some have already been sent out.
Right.
Word is bond is life, y'all.
Yeah, she been slipping on it, but I'm gonna have to micromanage that and make sure y'all get y'all manuals, because this is science, man, and we got to get this thing right, inshallah. With that said, leave you as we greeted you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum, family.
I was told to deliver this message.